Very rarely has a team that is winning, that's leading a series 2-1, heading into a final test, been subjected to wrath and critique. And that is what England, particularly Ben Stokes, the captain here, are facing after India managed to wrestle out a draw from what looked like a surefire defeat at Manchester. This Indian team will head to the Oval with a deep-seated desire to win that one and square the series, to snatch victory away from the hosts. More so because of what transpired over the last hour of play on the last day of the test. England was at it again, shoving their hands in the faces of the two Indian batters who had fought hard till that point, forcing India to call it off. Get to the draw so that everyone goes home, case closed. And that antic, for lack of a more denigrating word, has enraged everyone, with the knives now well and rightly out. So what really went down? Let me dive right in. Now, England, after that mammoth first innings total, would have, of course, patted themselves on the back, thumped their chests in the dressing room, told themselves this Indian lineup, minus a hobbling Rishabh Pant, was going to be no match for them. A win was a mere formality. They will finish off this Indian lineup in no time, and maybe they even believed so when the score within moments of India's innings start was 0-for-2. But England encountered a brick wall in KL Rahul and Shubman Gill. The two stuck it out there, with the weather also assisting the batting, and saw off the day. Day 5. England still have their hopes up. A collapse is just around the corner, they'd have told themselves. They've got this. And they dismissed Gill right after his century too. KL Rahul also faltering. Knowing smiles come on, swagger out and complacency in. They probably did not expect a young Washington Sundar and the calm Ravindra Jadeja standing their ground and digging their heels in. Overs stretched to hours, and as the sun went down, so too did England's fight, and any vestige of hope snuffed out by some of the grittiest batting on show. Two of them nearing their hundreds, and that's when drama unfolded. Ben Stokes and company, Ben Duckett, Zach Crawley, the works, all gathered around Jadeja and outright told him to shake hands and be done with this match. There was no way a result was possible. There was nothing left in this game. Let's be done. That this was a waste of time. The guts, I have to say. Stokes even goes on to taunt Jadeja, saying, what were they trying to do anyway? Score their hundreds against Harry Brook? He's not even a proper bowler. And the reason for such an obnoxious behaviour, skipper Stokes unbelievably had more than one. First up, what he said at the post-match presentation.
I was never going to risk any of my frontline bowlers. Naturally, you'll be fatigued. So yeah, as soon as, the 15 overs or last hour was there, it was always going to be a shake hands.
Was anyone injured? No. Did England bat to nearly 700 runs themselves, with India's bowlers also doing the hard yards, coming in and bowling repeatedly for more than around 160 overs? A resounding yes. Now, this was your plan, dear England, to bat India out of the game and get your bowlers to wrap up the innings fast and go home, which they failed to do. No. India stopped them from doing so. So the game doesn't end when you feel it's over. And then there was reason number 2, a different one. At the press conference to the media, once Stokes and the rest had some time to really process what they had done and said in the last moments of the match.
I don't think there would have been satisfaction from walking off 100 not out than walking off at 80, 90 not out. 10 more runs won't change the fact that you've managed to get your team out of a very tricky situation and almost saved your team from a series defeat before the last game.
First of all, Stokes, pick a lane and stick to it. When you do not do that, it makes it all the more evident what your actual intention was. That you were frustrated. You and your team couldn't close it out, so you decided to tell India, the opponents, to end it instead. What did their hundreds mean to you? Now, that's rich coming from a team that won a World Cup on a boundary count. Jadeja and Washington Sundar worked hard to keep you at bay, so if anyone deserved the hundreds, it was them. Now, this is not an advocacy for going for personal milestones. No, team always comes first. And given the situation, given what an emotional test this was for the visitors, with India being a man down, Pant getting fractured, a withered Indian bowling attack, they needed this. These centuries was their win. Hundreds in England, in Manchester, they don't come easy, something many of the best couldn't achieve and haven't yet. These 200s by Jadeja and Washington was gold. For Jadeja, it was yet another fitting response to all his critics. For Washington, it was his maiden Test 100, and that's what Test cricket means. That's what a youngster will see in this fight out in the middle, that this partnership staved off a hungry English pack to force a draw. This symbolized India's resistance to an English side that is truly beginning to embody the spirit of a downright bully, a bully that just has to be put down.
If someone's batting on 90 and another on 85, don't they deserve their centuries? Would England have walked off if their own players were close to milestones? No. Our boys weathered the storm. They earned those tons. We're not here to please anyone.
You simply cannot force anyone to come shake your hands and call it a draw when you want to or feel like it, Stokes. Not till they are done and the batting side were not done. It's called mutual consent. So why was it then? Stokes just being too concerned about the fatigue of his personnel, was that the reason? Maybe it was him thinking he can get away with anything he says or does on the field. Or hold on, did he time travel to the past and forget that India is no longer a Britain's colony? Or is this just plain arrogance and a sense of entitled behaviour that has no business anywhere and definitely not on a sporting field? Because this was no sledge. If they want a crash course, they can contact the Australians and maybe take some lessons from India's Virat Kohli. But kudos to Jadeja for handling all of that noise and chatter so well. He went about his business with a smile, saying that we're not going to shake hands and call it a day just yet. Not till we want to. Showing that at times a smile is probably the best way to counter the obnoxious. Now, you think England would be humble enough to acknowledge they were outdone here, accept the well-fought draw with some humility, but clearly not. In the quest of the baseball of wanting to change the game, they seem to have left something important behind: sportsmanship. And the fifth test at the Oval now is going to be a much anticipated affair with all to play for and a series well and truly on the line.
Firstpost now available in 9 languages on YouTube. English,
Stands at $36 trillion.
French,
Le FMI, comme
German,
Geschäftsführenden Direktor,
Hindi,
$30 trillion ka karjo.
Indonesian,
Pemerintah tanpa pemeriksaan.
Italian,
Sekali radikali.
Japanese,
Yon todo do idioma.
Portuguese,
Por causa do próprio balanço patrimonial.
Spanish.
Beautiful bill.
Go to Settings, click on Audio Track and select the language of your choice. Be the first to know what's happening around you in your first language. Firstpost.